Welcome, everybody. We will be starting at 7 o'clock. Just a few more minutes.
Hello, good evening. Welcome, parents of the class of 2021. My name is Tracy Davidson, and Mr. Young and I will be taking turns presenting information to you tonight on the college application process. Basically, what we're going over with you is the same slide presentation that we put together for our seniors and shared with them on the Google Classroom page for the class of 2021. So if you ask your son or daughter if they've watched that Google Classroom presentation yet, and they say no, I believe it would have been an English assignment, so they should make sure that they go on and watch the presentation and then click that they've clicked to submit the assignment. That way it also helps us keep track of which seniors have viewed all of the information and which ones haven't. So we've got lots to go over tonight. Parents should have received an email today with a link to type in questions that we can answer at the end of the presentation. And of course, always, you can certainly email your counselor and let them know if you have any particular questions, and we will get back to you. So some important dates to remember that we have set up for the year for senior parents. Tonight is the Senior Parent College Planning Meeting. On October 6th at 6 o'clock p.m., there will be a financial aid meeting. This meeting will be held virtually. I do not know at this point if it will be a recorded meeting or if it will be a live stream meeting like this one. I'm sure that the counselor that's in charge of that will get more information out a little bit closer to the date. December 4th is the end date that we would need a transcript request form turned into our office so that we can make sure that transcripts are sent out before winter break. As we get deeper into October and particularly November, kids are applying to lots of schools and we have to turn over lots of transcripts in that particular month. So we are asking that if they need something sent out before January 1st, since we will be on break, that they submit their transcript request through the link that they have, and also through Naviance by December 4th. And then May 30th is commencement. And we told the seniors that that day is going to come faster than they could possibly imagine. And this year is going to fly by. Finally, at the bottom, if you have a son or daughter that is planning to play Division I or Division II athletics, they must register with the NCAA Eligibility Center. This also will require a transcript, so they will have to go to the transcript request link, even for NCAA, to make sure that we send those out as well. So one of the first things that the students need to figure out when they're applying is if there's 3 different ways that most students apply. The most common way is regular decision. Then there are 2 other ways that we want to make sure that parents and students know the difference of. Early decision is very rarely used. Early decision means you definitely want to go to this particular school. You're applying early. You only choose early decision for one college. It would be your first choice college. You would receive an admissions decision from that college well in advance of everybody else. But if you get accepted to that institution, you absolutely must withdraw your application to any other college. So you would agree to attend that college regardless of whatever financial aid package that they would give you. So there's no pulling back. Yeah, I think that I pretty much, then you would send a non-refundable deposit well in advance of the typical May 1st deadline. So early action is another early deadline where the student should really only do this to maybe their top 1 or 2 schools. It's their way of telling the college, we're very, very interested in your school. We want to receive an admissions decision early, but we're not quite ready to take that full leap of faith and commit to your school. We still kind of want to feel the waters and see what other financial scholarships and merit aid and financial aid that they would get. So that's the difference between the 2. What we have seen trending is tons of students applying early action just because. Typically, a college really only wants students applying early action that are pretty sure that they're going to get into that school. Regular decision is most definitely the way to go. But again, these 2 other application choices are available to our students as well. So students are going to have to log into their Naviance account many times this year for a variety of reasons, including adding colleges, requesting transcripts, and requesting teacher letters of recommendation. These links, if you were to go to this presentation, or we'll post the PowerPoint on our website at some point after the meeting, all of these links you'll be able to access once we post the PowerPoint. The students also have access to this exact same PowerPoint presentation in their Google Classroom. So when they log in, students and parents will use the same login. Do not click on I'm new and need to register. Their login has been preset to their Chromebook login. So every time they log into their unified classroom or their Chromebook, it's almost the same login as Naviance. So they're gonna, if they have not logged in yet this year or since February of last year, which quite honestly is a lot of our juniors, they're gonna have to reset their password. So when they log in using their school email, their 6-digit student ID, their first initial and last initial, they're gonna get an error message that you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And it's going to tell them that something went wrong, that they need to check their email to change their password. So they're going to go back to their Strongsville email and they're going to click on the link from Naviance, open up another tab, and they're going to reset their password. What they must do, and I can't tell you how many emails I've had from students that were seniors last year, as well as some current seniors this year, is they forget this last step. The password that they create must be 10 characters long, and you cannot have the same 2 digits side by side. So they tend to skip right over that rule and create a password that they've used for lots of other logins that they have, and they eventually get completely locked out of Naviance and they've maximized their password attempts, and then they're emailing us and asking us to reset it. So again, when they create their password, they need to follow that particular rule, and then they will be able to get into their Naviance account. So now I'm going to turn the presentation over a bit to Mr. Young, because this information on this screen I already went over.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Exciting to be back at school and seeing students in our hallways and things. That I'm pretty happy about that. So, what we obviously are talking about is the college application process, and the big thing for our students is we're reiterating to them is the word Naviance and the computer program Naviance. We want it to be your one-stop shop for anything to do with college and career research, college and taking a look at the college and asking viewing the websites and different things. It's a wealth of knowledge or a wealth of information for everybody. What we're using Naviance for, especially for this year for seniors, is that we're going to have all the students request transcripts on Naviance. Okay. I sent an email out a few days ago to all the students. We're asking for 3 things to be done. One of them is that they have to request transcripts in Naviance. The other one, they have to request transcripts on our transcript release form. And we sent out, it's a QR code. You can find it in the guidance Google Classroom. You can find it on the guidance website as well. We're also asking all of our students to request letters of recommendation on Naviance. Okay, so what happens is if they have a favorite teacher or 2 favorite teachers, they will request that letter through Naviance. The teacher will go to their inbox, and sure enough, there's some information on there that, hey, so-and-so applied to this college. Would you write me a letter of recommendation? It's real clean. It's real neat. Students all have a file or a folder that gets sent off to that college eventually. And then we're also looking for counselor recommendations on that form as well. I just want to make sure you guys understand as well that not all colleges require letters of recommendation, nor do all colleges require counselor recommendations. You'll find that out. You'll find out exactly what that college needs when you apply to the college. Okay. All right. So one of the things that we're starting to do soon, and over the next couple days, your son or your daughter will be getting an email from their school counselor inviting them to schedule an appointment for something we call a senior conference or a senior interview. One of my favorite times of the year is because I get to sit down with a student and talk about future plans. And what's different this year is, of course, we may not be able to do face-to-face, so that you might see some of these through Google Meets. They range anywhere from 10 minutes to a half hour, depending on how many questions your son or daughter has. But during this senior interview, we go over credits with them. We get to share the transcript, so they get to see what it looks like, see what their 9th grade classes were, their 10th grade classes. We go over the GPA. We show them their class rank, and they can write this thing down, jot it down, because when they apply to colleges, many of them want to know GPA, rank, and so on. We want to talk about post-high school plans. We want to know, are you heading off to a 2-year school, a 4-year school? Are you going to enter the world of work, military? So there are some questions that we're going to ask, concerns that that we can address to make sure that your son or daughter walks out of our office saying, okay, I'm a little clearer on what I want to do and how to do it. Not to mention that we're there to answer questions. That's our job. Okay. Sometimes kids are like, man, Mr. Young, I hate to bother you about this or bother you about that. That's absolutely no bother. That is our job, is to make sure they know what's going on. And And so we're actually pretty happy to get to do this. One of the slides we're going to have in the future, it's going to look just like this one here. It is going to have links to for all the students to sign up. So besides an email from us, they can also, if they're really motivated, they go on tonight, click on Mrs. Koblenz or Mr. Young or Mrs. Davidson, and it goes right to a link that they can sign up for their senior interviews. These are the school assignments, the school counselor assignments this school year. A couple years ago, we went from 6 counselors to 5. You'll notice that Mrs. Koblenz is back with us. She was here 2 years ago. Who is missing is Mrs. Sislowski. She took an elementary school counseling position in our district, so she's still around. But we break down by alphabet. Wonderful group of ladies I work with, and they're very helpful to all the students. Okay. So, Mrs. Davidson.
Yep. Okay, so right now we're going to talk about how to choose the right type of college application. Typically, there's 2 different ways that students can apply to college. One is directly through the college's website, and the other is through the Common Application. So if they have older siblings, they probably have heard the Common App float around the house at this time of year before. So we'd like to try to guide the students as to which way they should apply. And one rule of thumb we usually go with is if they're only applying to 1 or 2 colleges, if they are allowed to use the college website application, then that would be the way to go. Typically, they're quicker. They're not as in depth. They won't need letters of recommendation. They won't need a lot of different things. If they are, sometimes you'll go to like University of Cincinnati. If you go to their college website and you click on apply, it's going to directly route them to the Common App. So there are some colleges where that is the only way that they can apply. If they're applying to perhaps 2 or more, then we would consider that they use the Common App so that they complete that one application that gets shot out to every school that they enter on that application. Now, particular schools might have additional supplements on the Common App that go to their school that wouldn't go to another. So sometimes when the kids go through the Common App, they're confused as to why one college is asking for something that another one doesn't. And that's when we will be able to help them. Usually when we do our senior interviews, we'll ask them which way they're going to apply and make sure that they know how to create their account, know how to link their account to Naviance, so that when their senior conference is over, they're really comfortable with that process. Another question they need to ask themselves, or you need to ask them as well as a family, has the college offered you a fee waiver? So if you have gotten a fee waiver, which sometimes it could be because you took a visit there, which a lot of those visits are on hold or they're virtual now. They'll give you a college fee waiver so you can bypass that anywhere from $35 to $75 application fee. If they get a fee waiver, there might be a specific application type they have to use in order to use that fee waiver. They may say, you can use the Common App, or they may say, no, here's a code. We want you to use our application, and here's the code to go in and bypass the application fee. So when you do get a fee waiver, make sure that your student asks how they apply that to the application so that they don't get charged. So again, as I mentioned, you're going to have 2 different ways that you can apply to colleges, either directly to the institution, and here are the steps on how to do that. You're going to log in right to the college's website and look for keywords such as apply now, admissions, get started, get admitted, and prospective students. Sometimes it'll say undergraduate admissions. Then you'll click on that link. The student will create a username and make sure that they record their username and password somewhere in case they don't get to finish their application in one sitting. Plus, oftentimes when they create an account, then that account is also where they can log in and look and see what their status is as far as acceptance. Then they'll start filling out the application over the next couple of minutes, and look ahead on the application and see if you're going to need a letter of recommendation or not, so that they can plan ahead and before they complete the application and send it off. The Common App, as you can see, we attached a link, so that link will be live when they look at the PowerPoint. It'll take them directly to the Common App. We've also included a couple of videos on this side of the slide, which will show them step-by-step instructions on creating an account. Common App has some great videos that they share on their website, and I believe they have like a Common App YouTube channel as well. So they'll create an account, again, record it somewhere, because they're going to need to be able to get into that. I doubt most kids are going to get that Common App done in one sitting. Click on My Colleges, add at least 1 or 2 schools to their list. Then they're going to click on Education along the left-hand side and just complete the secondary school information. Once they complete the secondary school information, they're going to go back to the first college that they chose. Click on that school, and they're going to see a section that says Recommenders and FERPA. They have to complete that Recommenders and FERPA section. The FERPA section is like a privacy act. It gives us as a high school and the teachers the opportunity to speak on the student's behalf, as well as us to send school records like the transcript or report cards. Sometimes they'll ask for that. They're going to have to decide whether or not they're going to waive their right to review the teacher recommendations or the counselor recommendations, or maintain that right. And we will share with you that most colleges say they should waive that right. We can't tell them what to do, but typically they're hoping you waive the right. And the fact that you trust your recommenders are going to write something really good about you. So we always tell the students too, when you're requesting letters of recommendation, don't request them from a teacher you're unsure whether they like you or not. You may have gotten a 98% in their class, but if you didn't have a strong relationship with that teacher, that might not be the best person to ask. Make sure they review their recommender requirements. Again, if you or your child have more Common App questions, make sure that you visit the YouTube channel or the video link at the top of this slide. Starting an application and creating an account through Naviance. So directly to the institution, they're going to log into their Naviance account using their Google login. They're going to click on colleges on that main page, and then click colleges I'm applying to, and they'll see that red plus button. Click the red plus button, and you'll be able to type in the college. It'll pull it up from the database, and you add it. If needed, request letters of recommendation on Naviance as well. And at the bottom, you can see in blue, link to the tutorial of letters of recommendation that shows the students step-by-step a video exactly how to recommend letters. On the right-hand side, again, commonapp.org, they're going to log into Naviance. They're going to go colleges I'm applying to. And if it's a Common App school, there will be a big red banner across the top that says your account is not matched. So they're going to then need to match their Common App account. And this is why it's very important that they remember the email address they used to create their Common App account and all of their information for logging in. And that's, if you click on the video tutorial that's on here, it's going to show the students exactly how they're going to match those accounts. Now, these slides have actually been up on our Google page since the very beginning of the school year. So we have already had several seniors who have gone through all of this information, clicked on the tutorials, and figured out exactly how to do this, because it is step by step. If letters of recommendation are needed, there's also a tutorial again on adding and loading up those letters of recommendation.
Okay, so what if you do need a letter of recommendation? Again, I want to make sure you understand that not all schools require letter recommendations. Some may want 1, they don't want 2, they don't want 3. Like Ohio State, for instance, is requiring 1 letter recommendation. They're not looking for a second or third person. So you could, on Naviance, you can ask 1 specific teacher to send that 1 specific recommendation to 1 school. And then the other, let's say you have two people writing letters, then the other one can write for all the other schools as well. So what about the letters of recommendation? Now, the first thing, we want to make sure we are courteous and that we have our seniors ask a teacher up front or email a teacher, especially nowadays in things. But it's nice to say, hey, can you write this letter of recommendation for me? You may want to hand that teacher your resume or at least a list of activities and clubs and volunteering, work experience, athletics, music, dance, anything that you do that can separate you or your child from somebody else is important for that recommender to know. So you want to give that person enough time as well. Uh, One of the things we don't want to do is, hey, you write me a letter of recommendation? Oh, by the way, it's due in 2 days. Um, we know these are crazy times. We know that uh, people are super busy with what's going on. So we're going to ask our seniors to first ask a teacher and then give them plenty of time to write the letter of recommendation. What happens then is that student is going to have to go into their Naviance account and request a recommender. And I think we have a slide about that here in a little bit that we'll show you. Some colleges require specific subjects, or a teacher from a specific subject. Like if you're going to go into engineering, it may be helpful to have a math or a science teacher. If you're a music major, of course, you want that music teacher to write you a recommendation. Okay. It says, ask someone who likes you, of course. Mrs. Davis kind of hinted on the fact that sometimes kids do very well in class, but sometimes teachers and kids don't necessarily click, which is fine. You don't have to like all your teachers, but you want to have good rapport with that person. And again, you're counting on them to write you a recommendation. Why is this kid so good in my classroom? And what separates this student from somebody else? So make sure that we take care of business in order of asking that teacher ahead of time. And again, the bottom star there is you must request recommendations through Naviance. The teacher will receive an email, and from there, the teacher is going to attach a letter. And then they also require teachers to kind of bubble in some responses about, does the student come to class on time? Is he or she a team player? There's a whole bunch of questions. So there's just more to it than being just a letter of recommendation. Okay. As far as finishing touches go, so you need to complete and submit the transcript request form online. Again, it's on our Google Classroom. It is on our high school website. The students can bring it up. It's a QR code. They can scan it. They can complete it in a couple seconds. And then it goes to us. And then we are going to look at that and say, okay, we have permission to send transcripts. We're going to then log into our Naviance account and start doing our end of things, okay? There is a $10 one-time fee. And so if you apply to one college or 7 or 8, it doesn't matter. The one-time $10 fee is going to be put on the students' fees. If you're a CCP student or you applied for something last year or the year before, or you requested a transcript for the NCAA Eligibility Center and you paid your $10, you don't have to repay again. So that is nice. And again, we're going to say it again, request transcripts through Naviance, request transcripts on the transcript release form as well. Okay. The other thing that's important is that some colleges are going to want ACT and SAT scores. Okay. We, as a courtesy, include ACT and SAT scores on our high school transcript. So it's there so whoever gets to view the transcript can see ACT and SAT scores. Sometimes that's not enough. Some colleges do want them directly from the testing agency. So that's when you have to log into your College Board account or ACT and click on the box that's going to be sending them to these schools. We have a list of the few schools here as well. You can see Cincinnati and Miami and Ohio State, and there's a few others. Again, you have to do, or your children have to do what the college requires. If they're missing pieces along the way, the application is not complete. So make sure that they understand that. Okay. How do I find out about scholarships? Scholarships, one of the resources we have is Naviance, of course. Again, magic word Naviance. They can look at national scholarship searches. Some they're going to be qualified for, some they will not be. The one issue you got to understand is that these are national searches. So you're not just searching against kids from Strongsville or Cuyahoga County or Ohio. You're searching across the United States. But they're very doable. I've had kids in the past that have done a couple scholarships a week, and it ends up paying off for them, that they can get $500 here or $500 there. They're not easy to get. You have to be, you have to go at it, take the time to do it. But if you're driven, hopefully it pays off in rewards. Another scholarship search is that FastWeb is a wonderful program. Again, national search. You fill in a profile. You might want to tell them your major and what you want to do at the college, and they will be able to funnel through maybe hundreds of scholarships and only send you a few of them that you're eligible for. They're not going to waste their time. If you're not an education major, they're not going to send you, certain scholarships and things. We also have a scholarship board in our office. I know it's kind of hard to get there now because of COVID and things, but there's going to be paper copies of scholarships that are available to our kids. When we hear about a scholarship, we want to post it. So we should be able to post it there. One of the great things about Strongsville's community is that we offer local scholarships as well. And by local, I'm talking about Strongsville proper. There are like PTA scholarships, and there's some local churches, and there's some local people who have donated money to Strongsville graduates. It's a special application, and it comes out in March, and the winners are selected. And then we have a very nice night. It's called senior. What Mr. Davis helped me out a little bit is
salute. It's in mid-May typically.
Yeah, senior salute. My bad. And it's a great night, and we get to brag about how well our kids did and how much money that they earn. It's fantastic. It's a great night. One of the other things we want to make sure you understand is we never want you guys to start paying for scholarship searches and things. There's nothing that you can't do on your own. Big Future, scholarship sites, FastWeb, Naviance, that you would have to pay money for. Okay. We also are going to require, also a lot of these colleges require the FAFSA. Mrs. Davis is going to hit on the FAFSA here in a second. The FAFSA is a big deal. Regardless of how much money you make in income and things, please make sure you fill that out, because it's going to be good for scholarship and merit and all sorts of things. So, okay, Mrs. Davidson.
So again, what exactly is the college application process? I feel like a couple of these slides are a bit redundant, but oftentimes we hit it 2 or 3 times, and maybe that third time the student's like, okay, I get it now. So again, 2 different ways to apply, one directly to the institution and the other way through the common application. As you can see, there are fewer steps if you apply direct to the institution. You just create your login and complete your application, and you don't forget to request the transcripts through Naviance, as well as complete and submit the transcript request form online that Mr. Young referred to. The $10 is only due once, and if needed, request teacher recommendation letters from your teachers, either in person or via email, and then request them on Naviance. Again, they have to check on their test scores and find out. Again, this is a unique year, so there are many schools that are test optional as far as ACT and SAT, but that is up to the student to figure that out from the college and their website. Common App, create their common application online, make sure the FERPA waiver is completed that I talked about previously, match the 2 accounts through the Naviance program, request the transcripts again is step 4. And if $10 has not been paid, it is added to the school fees this year. And if needed, the teacher recommendation, and number 7, check on the test scores. Here is a Common App account matching tutorial. So they can come to this and click on the Screencastify link, and it'll show them how to do the matching. So another question that we get asked, how do I narrow down my choices? So pre-COVID days, we had every fall in the 20 years that I've been here, we've had college reps who physically come into the building and the students can register to meet with them. They would get a pass from the secretary and they would meet in a conference room or depending on how large, perhaps a classroom, and ask questions directly of the college admissions rep. Because of COVID, we're going to try and see how we can arrange virtual college visits. And if we are able to arrange virtual college visits, we will coordinate, put that information on the morning announcements, send it on to the students via a Naviance email, post it on the class of 2021 guidance Google Classroom page with instructions and a link on how they would meet with them virtually. Most college campuses are doing virtual visits. There are a handful that are actually, with some restrictions, doing in-person visits. So great ways to get those visits done are to attend an open house. I believe that some of these colleges even have a virtual open house. You would schedule the visit on that college's website. If they're going to be physically visiting a college that is offering that option, they would need to obtain a planned absence form from Mrs. Cook in the attendance office a good 5 days before they're going to be gone so that their teachers know they're going to be missing school that day and that they can go collect their work and that that absence can actually be excused. Then they would return that form to Mrs. Cook in the attendance office. So a common question that I get from seniors is, I kind of know what I want to do, and I kind of know what school type of school I'm looking for, but I don't even know really where to begin as far as finding that perfect fit. So one of the best tools, one of my favorite tools that we have on Naviance is called Supermatch. So when they log into their Naviance account, they'll click on colleges and then they'll click on find your fit and then Supermatch. And it's very easy to navigate. It has lots of different filters. So it can, the things they need to consider, it'll ask them about the location. Do they want to stay in Ohio? Are they willing to go out of state? You can type in majors. You can type in whether you want to be in an urban, a rural, a suburban setting, the size, a big campus, a small campus, medium-sized campus. It'll ask if there's a religious affiliation they would like to have at their school, if there's Greek life, if they offer study abroad, if they offer internships. And so with all of those filters that they have, it's going to narrow down to the colleges that have the best match. And then they can pin, kind of like Pinterest, they can pin the colleges next to each other and do some comparing. At that point, maybe they had 15 colleges swimming through their heads that they were thinking could be a good fit. And they go on and they do Supermatch and it narrows it down to 3 to 5. So it just makes that college search for a student who isn't quite sure what college is right for them. It makes it much easier to navigate and narrows it down so that they only have a few to really consider and not 25. At the bottom, don't rule out private schools based on cost. And I will say that when I was their age, I had a parent who said, forget a private school. There's no way we could afford it. Pick a state school. And I didn't have a guidance counselor that shared with me how private schools have more money to share through endowments from alumni and what have you. So many times, and to apply to a private school in the state of Ohio is free. There's no application fee that I'm aware of for any private in the state of Ohio. So it's not going to cost them anything but a little bit of their time to apply. And then they can wait and see based on your FAFSA, based on possible merit aid, what type of financial aid package they can offer you. And you may actually find that the college comparison is, or the college tuition comparison is somewhat similar. So again, don't rule out private schools based on cost. Mr. Young?
Yeah, so as Mrs. Davidson was saying that, we're kind of spoiled around here. We do a nice job of preparing kids for college. And colleges love coming here. We send 85% of our kids to 2 and 4 year schools. Um, but this is a different type of year. So everybody knows, like, counselor wise, and we try to tell our kids that probably the single best way is to get to know the school is to get onto a campus. Something about walking uh, into Cleveland, down to Cleveland State, and looking around and saying, "Wow, this is cool," or going to John Carroll or BW or whatever the case may be. Um, but this year again is different. So there are going to be some schools that do still offer in-person visits. These are just state schools that I wrote down. I did not get an opportunity to see all the private schools and things, but like Akron, BG, Toledo, and Shawnee State, they're all offering in-person visits. So if you wanted to take a visit to see these schools, you'd go to their websites, and you would find the tour now button kind of a thing, and you would set up an appointment. Everybody is offering virtual visits. They have, I've did a couple looking around at some of the websites, and they do a nice job of this. They want to show you what the campus is like, what the cafeteria is like. They show dorm rooms and things, a different feel. But again, it's important for for your kids to at least take a look at the virtual visits and things. Okay, but I highly suggest that. So what we're going to look at here is how to add colleges to Naviance. Um, so we have kind of a picture paints 1,000 words. So we wanted to make sure we took some screenshots of Naviance. So son or daughter is going to log in, and again they're going to go to that plus sign and add a college, or if they're doing it through the Common App, and I don't want to get out of order here, some of those schools kind of import into Naviance once they're linked. So which college are you applying to? And this person's applying to Ohio State. And this is important. If you take a look at this, it says, I'll submit my application. And there's three responses you could do. One of them we don't want you to do. We want you to tell us specifically the Common App or directly to the institution. Again, directly to the institution, meaning right on that college's website. It's important to pick one or the other. The I'm not sure yet throws the counselor off, it throws Naviance off, and it's kind of a dead end for us because we don't know how to send records. Okay. Um, what's that? Yeah. So now, if we look at this next slide, I want you to bring attention to the red on the top of the screen. Okay. The red on the top of the screen, it says, it looks like you are currently applying to Common App schools. You need to match your Common App account to Naviance. Okay. This is important. A lot of kids right now who are trying to get a jump on things are like, hey, Mr. Young, my people writing letters for me can't send things. So upon doing some research in here, I go to their account and I see, oh, you gotta match the accounts. So what does that mean? What happens as a student, if you're applying to a Common App school, you're going to only be able to get so far. And then it's going to notice that, oh, your school is a Common App school, or excuse me, is a Naviance school. So they're going to require letters of recommendation. They're going to require counselor information to go through Naviance. So they have to link or match the two. So the student's going to click on match accounts, and they're going to be, Mrs. Davidson hit on this earlier, they're going to be asked like that FERPA question, okay? And they're going to have to use the email that they used in Common App and to link the two. Once they're linked, that thing turns green, and then we're in business, because then the school counselors can send records and send transcripts, send letters. Your teachers can send recommendations. Ms. Davis, can you go back to that real quick? I just want to show them one more thing. So if you look at this, this person's applying BG, Cincinnati, and Cuyahoga Community College. Notice this says type, it's RD. That means regular decision. She mentioned that. They do a nice job of pointing to a deadline on here. And notice where it says transcripts, and this particular person requested all the transcripts. Now remember, I've said this a couple times already, to request transcripts, you have to request them on Naviance. This person did it right. They have to go to that QR code on the Google Classroom or our website and request transcripts as well as there. We cannot send transcripts unless that thing is checked off and requested. The other thing is submission type. You can see the CA meaning Common App. Tri-C is not on the Common App, so you can see that that is a empty computer screen as well. Okay. Um, One last thing is that plus sign right there, as Mrs. Davidson referred to that a little bit ago as well. That's where you want to add more schools. So if you're looking at adding Cleveland State right there or something, you can add a school that way. Okay. Letters of recommendation request to Naviance. Again, not all schools require letters of recommendation. This is a quick hitting video to show the student how to request letters of recommendation. We do have a drop down bar. All the teachers in our district, well, excuse me, in our high school are on there. So if you have a favorite teacher, you're going to find it to the drop down bar. I do want to let you know that it's only strong teachers are on there. So employers, bosses, coaches, maybe from a summer baseball league, they're not on there. So they're going to have to request that information through the Common App, or they're just going to have to send a recommendation to that specific college. That's something that the student can come and ask us those questions, and we'll be able to help them navigate that.
Okay, so who should apply early? Again, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation, that the last few years, it seemed to be a trend that so many students were applying early action to every school they were applying to. This is absolutely not necessary. Early action and early decision are there for a specific reason. So those two ways of applying are typically for a student who has researched their colleges extensively, so they are pretty darn sure that's where they want to attend. Again, absolutely sure that that's their first choice. They found a college that matches them academically, socially, and geographically. So it's not, you don't apply to a reach school early action. You want to apply to a school that you meet or exceed what their admission expectations are. So that would be, your test scores, your GPA, and your class rank. So if you meet that or you exceed it and you want that decision early, then consider perhaps early action. If you're not quite near there and it's a reach school, you should be applying regular decision. And you should have an academic record that's been pretty solid and consistent over your 4 years of high school. And this information has been directly taken from the College Board website. So that's an excellent resource, is the College Board website, if you need any kind of information about college applications. Okay, so the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. What you can do right now, the student and the parent can go to fafsa.ed.gov and obtain your FSA ID. So a student and a parent are each going to have their own FSA ID, and you're going to need to save it to a safe place, because that same FSA ID is going to be used all 4 years that they're in school to apply for the FAFSA. So when your student is applying and when you are applying, you both have to have different email addresses. They have to fill out their part. You have to fill out your part. The actual application for the FAFSA can be started on October 1st, 2020. So that's a couple short weeks away. So the sooner you get that FSA ID secured, you'll have that ready to go on October 1st. Colleges use the information on the FAFSA to determine eligibility for grants, for need-based scholarships, and for specific student loans. So that's what the FAFSA is used for. However, that being said, some families think, well, we make too much money, we're not going to qualify for anything, so we're not going to fill out the FAFSA. Most colleges will not award any kind of aid, not even merit aid that your child has earned by working really hard over 4 years of high school, if you have not completed the FAFSA. So it really is truly important to complete the FAFSA, regardless of what your income is and what you think you may or may not qualify for. The Senior Financial Aid Night, again, if you want to mark your calendars, is October 6th, 2020 at 6 p.m. And we will have more information out on that. I would definitely be checking Mr. Winkler's weekly newsletters, and more information will be to come on that. if you are going through the FAFSA and you have questions, because I know sometimes there's, split families, all kinds of different nuances that you might have questions on what needs to be filled out, you can go to FAFSAhelpoh.org, and that's a great resource for parents. Also, make sure that you tune in on October 6th, because it really is a helpful evening to answer a lot of questions that causes a lot of anxiety about college. Mr. Young?
All right. So you've heard a lot of information today, and I'm sure you're inundated with all of this. The counselors are here to help. So if you have questions, please email. Have your students come prepared for their senior interview, and we'll help you guys get through this. There's other websites that we look at, and when we get information, we want to share it with you. Big Future is a wonderful website. It's very similar to Naviance in a lot of ways. You can do college searches, career searches. They have a scholarship search on there as well. But they have a lot of questions that you have. I'm sure that you can go in there and they answer everything about financial aid and about a lot of different things. So I use Big Future a lot with my students. It's good stuff. It's made by the College Board. And again, anything the College Board kind of touches is kind of the gold standard of things. College Board website itself is full of information. They also have scholarship searches on there as well. So the College Board is AP and PSAT and SAT. Ohio Means Jobs is another. It's a pretty good site. It's kind of cumbersome in a lot of ways. Some of it's not super easy, but they do have jobs galore on there. So some of our kids who are not necessarily looking to go on to a 2-year school or a 4-year school, there might be some jobs that they might be interested in. Training, it's chock full of information as well. On the right-hand side, we have some scholarship searches, and we mentioned FastWeb earlier. Mrs. Davidson just went over FAFSA. And again, FAFSA is a big deal. Can't stress that enough. Scholarships.com, myscholarly.com. There's quite a few out there. Keep an eye open for maybe if your churches offer scholarships or workplaces offer scholarships. Again, hard to do, hard to get, but it's worth the effort to at least look into getting some of this. Okay, because there's people out there who are willing to share their money. So take advantage of that if you can. Again, these are the school counselors. There's 5 of us. And these are all linked, by the way. So if you would click on Mrs. Koblenz or Mr. Young or Mrs. Davidson's link there, it's going to take you automatically to the signups for senior interviews. So again, the interview is going to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes to a half hour, depending on what the student wants to talk about. This is for every student. It's not just kids heading off to 2 years and 4-year schools. We want to see everybody. We want to help them figure out the plan. Some of these kids already know what they're doing, so it's awesome but we're just there to help support. Okay. So Mrs. Davidson, let's take a look at our site and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, we have one. So either we did an outstanding job, or we're going to get some questions in our inboxes over the next few days, which is absolutely fine. So the question that we have is, do you have to use a Strongsville High School teacher for a letter of recommendation, or can you use another person? And yes, you may use a coach, you may use a youth group leader, an employer. The only difference is you will not use Naviance to request that particular letter of recommendation. If the student's filling out the common application, there will be a section called Other Recommenders, and that is where they would put that person's information in, so they would get a link to do the letter of recommendation. If it's a college that they're applying to that is not on the Common App, that would be a situation where then that recommender would email it directly to the college and ask that it be added to the student's file, unless there is a special way that they want that uploaded. But the student should be able to navigate that through that particular application. The second question is, could you clarify about the ACT and SAT? Are students exempt from having to take them due to the virus? Many schools are test optional due to the virus this year. Not all. So I would just urge your son or daughter, or sit down as a family and look over what the admissions requirements are, and they will spell that out for you. The ACT is running this October. They've added more test dates this fall than they same with SAT, that they have historically, to kind of make up for what was missed out on in the spring. So those particular dates you can find on actstudent.org and collegeboard.com. So those would be the websites to find that. And again, they can email us, or you guys can reach out to us and we can help you figure that out. But I believe those are the only two questions that we have. So thank you very much for tuning in, and reach out to us if you need anything. And please urge your child to sign up for their senior interview so that we are not trying to hunt them down this fall. We want to make sure that they are adequately prepared and all of their questions are answered for their post-high school plans. Thanks very much and have a great night.
Take care, everybody.